What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Super Gnarly Brothers Podcast. This is the AJW show, Average Joes for Wrestling, part of the podcast where me and Matt just get to be an average Joes about wrestling. That's what we do best. I love the weird hands. So we made a challenge last week for everybody to basically label their top. Well, we wanted you guys to label your top 5. We ended up just doing it because no one else commented on the page. So let's try to change that. Let's try to get some comments in there, and we want to try getting at least maybe 20 or 30 likes for this video to be nice. Get a little bit of love. So we're gonna do top 5. We're gonna go 5 to 1. Matt's gonna go first. I'm gonna tag along, and then we're gonna dive into some of the topics.
Okay, so I'm not gonna get too in depth on each one of these people because honestly, everybody's gonna know who they are. Like if you don't, then you haven't watched wrestling in the last 30 years. Number 5 is going to be Kevin Nash. Number 4, obviously, Scott Hall. The Outsiders in WCW was some of the best work I think I've seen either one of them do. Razor Ramon, obviously, that's a big, that was like Scott Hall's like real big deal. Awesome work there too. Number 3 would be Ric Flair. Number 2 is Bret Hart. And number 1 is Sting. I kind of got into a story a little while ago with somebody about like when Sting came to WWE, like it reminded me of like being like it's like an 8-year-old kid again. You know what I mean? Like whenever his music hit and like they actually brought Stinger out, like I literally like freaked out. That's just he's my favorite wrestler. Has been since the glory days of the bright neon green and pink and blue and red face paint.
The colorful trunks.
The trunks were ridiculous, dude, but it was the early 90s. I mean, it is what it is.
Then it's making a comeback. You won't be
it is. It is. So that's my top 5. I think that top 5 in any category would be considered a pretty good legacy as far as wrestling goes. So I'll let you go ahead and do your top 5.
Yeah, I will. Go ahead. If you can, pull your mic just a little bit further away from your mouth and get a little less breathing. So I'm gonna do 5, and then my thing about my number 5 is it's kind of a tag team. It's kind of like yours when you did the NWO. Mm-hmm. It's the Young Bucks. It's the best tag team in the world. You gotta love the Young Bucks. They're changing wrestling. They're changing the world. Number 4, see, my 3 through 4 and 5 were a little difficult, so I'm just going with a lot of the guys that I really care about. Number 4 is Randy Orton. RKO is probably one of the best finishers in all of professional wrestling. I love it. The internet loved it. It was like probably the best meme to have for over probably the whole course of 2017, 2018. Number 3 is my favorite wrestler today, Kenny Omega. The man can just go. We're going to touch on a little bit of him later in the episode on some topics, but he's realistically probably one of the best wrestlers of today. Number 2, it's kind of going with yours, Bret Hart. You got to love the guy. The sharpshooter is probably one of my favorite submission moves to do. I remember doing it to my brother all the time as kids, and then he got a little bit bigger, so then obviously it was a little hard to put him in the sharpshooter. And the guy that got me into watching wrestling is the guy I'm going to be putting as my number 1, which was Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon, it was just, I don't know how charismatic he was. Mostly was just based off his finisher, realistically. But as I continued watching him and his charisma and just how he basically just he went in the ring. WrestleMania 10 is probably one of my favorite matches of him and Shawn Michaels in that ladder match. It's just spectacular. And since we did a lost episode, we did this episode last week, but editing issues and processing issues, the YouTube forbidden it. So we did a challenge that we were going to do underrated wrestlers in both AEW and NXT, or AEW and WWE. WWE being not just NXT, but SmackDown and Raw as well. And I said that kind of backwards, but you guys got to get the idea. And so let's dive into one of our topics I want to get into, because we're going to talk a little bit of IWC. We're going to talk a little WWE, because if you talk longer than WWE, you're basically losing brain cells. And we'll get into a little bit of AEW and NXT. So I do want to shed a little bit of light. due to some uncircumstances between the State Athletic Commission in Pennsylvania, IWC was supposed to have a event this Saturday, or no, next Saturday. It was supposed to be a IWC show. Matt, you got to stop doing it all the time. An IWC, it's just really loud.
Oh, my bad.
You're good. There's an IWC show, and it's called the Super Indy 19. It's a really, really awesome show where they're going to have a lot of these guys come out and do like a tournament style, kind of like the Cruiserweight Classic in a sense, but not as much. So it usually happens once a year. They pushed it back all the way to September. Or I spilled Dr. Pepper all over my notes earlier, and I still didn't go back to look at it because I just know it's early September. I want to say it's September 17th. They're talking about bringing it back. Matt and I are going to try and go. We're going to try to sit front row. We're going to try to create some noise. We're going to have the Super Monada Bros shirts on. We're going to try to have a good time with that on September. Some of the guys that were announced, Danhausen, we touched on him a little bit before because I fucked up this podcast earlier by not recording it like a jackass while we got like almost to the last segment. Danhausen's going to be in there. Rumor had it Alexander Hammerstone was going to be in there. I want to see him really bad because that dude's just a big jacked guy who can go in the ring. And I think another one that I like is Brian Pillman. And we talked about Brian Pillman, I believe, on the first episode, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I want to see more Brian Pillman in IWC because I think he's got a lot of good wrestlers to fuck around with in there. But, I mean, do you want one thing to share about the IWC? Are you pretty excited to try to go to the Super Indy tournament in September? It's around my birthday, so.
I'm really hoping to be able to go to this. I really want to see Brian Pillman Jr. Like, I don't know what it is about the guy, man. Like I just – maybe it's just because, like, I really liked his dad's work. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, and everywhere that he was, WCW, ECW, WWE. I mean, he was pretty much everywhere. I feel that his dad was probably one of the most genius business people as a wrestler in general. He knew how to make money. He made his money. I mean, he did some things that probably people shouldn't, things that obviously you shouldn't do. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But back then, though, it was all about getting viewers, and that's what you were gauged on as a wrestler was how many asses you could put in seats. And him, Stone Cold, The Rock, they put asses in seats. I mean, that's what Hogan did, I mean, so you can't fault him for it.
Exactly. I agree.
Controversy breeds asses in seats. It just does, so.
I know too well.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't really have anything else to touch about it. I want to see it. I can't wait to. I want to see some Johnny Pash, some Andrew Powell, some Jack Pollock. I believe I don't want to confirm it, but I'm sure. And also, fun fact about Jack Pollock: he's a wrestler at IWC. He just added me on Facebook today. So I'm curious to. I want to see him wrestle again. I seen him wrestle for the first time when he was a part of Team Storm. Little whiles back. No offense to Jack Pollock. I'm more of a Jackson Argos guy, and those guys are kind of have some beef. They were former Team Storm members. One turned on the other. You got to watch that video. If I can find it, I'll send it to you. It was a cool turn. But let's dive into a little bit of the WWE stuff. So let's get into Raw and SmackDown. Then we'll talk about a little bit of the Undertaker, talking about the Montreal Screwjob after this, because it's all entitled to WWE. So Matt, go ahead and take it away, because you are a Raw and SmackDown guy.
Okay, so I mean, basically, I don't want to hit on every single thing that happened, but I mean, the Seth Rollins promo in the beginning was really, really good. There was actually 12 promos in Raw, which is, in my opinion, that's way too many. The match between him and Aleister Black, it was a surprise roll-up. Not really, not any surprise there, really. It was an A-plus match, though, in my opinion. Apollo Crews, U.S. champ, I think that's fantastic. Like, that guy needs to be shot to the moon. It should have been.
I would like to add that Seth Rollins match was probably one of the best matches on the card. Minus maybe the Apollo Crews match.
Yeah. Well, I mean, KO versus Apollo Crews was very good. It had a really crap finish though with Andrade and Angel Graza interfering in it.
And then there came to be a tag match like any other fucking.
Yeah, which I mean, when you watch WWE, like you just know this is what's going to happen, especially if you see like two, quote unquote faces in the ring wrestling. I mean, KO kind of is like a face. Apollo Crews, I would assume, would still be a face. Maybe they turned him heel. I doubt it. He has a beard. I mean,
you could turn Apollo Crews heel, but Kevin, if you're going to turn someone heel, it might as well be Kevin Owens.
KO would be one.
He's the best heel by far.
Other than that, to be honest with you, there was a Skype call with Rey Mysterio. His son got involved in it. I'm pretty sure that they're going to actually pull the trigger on his son getting involved in a tag match with him, which I will actually watch. I'll actually watch that if that happens. Mm-hmm. Just because I think that if Dominic does get involved and he actually like tags with Rey, it's going to be kind of the passing of the torch and the Mysterio name, I think, like to him. I just hope that, like, realistically, what I'd love to see is at the end of the match, Rey hands him his mask, he adorns the mask, and then becomes like, Rey Mysterio the second, or whatever.
Well, no, Which I mean, he wouldn't be the second; he'd be like the third because he's actually Rey Mysterio Jr. But
yeah. What I mean,
I don't think he's gonna take. I don't think he's gonna take the persona of Rey Mysterio. He may be Mysterio,
which I mean, that's fine.
Which would be kind of cool. Actually, it's a cool name.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's what would really be kind of like that passing of the torch to his son. I mean, either way, like I'm pretty sure his son already has a guaranteed contract in the WWE. At this point, so
if not, they're going to be helped financially through WWE. Somehow.
Yeah, so that was Raw for the okay. So just to get into the controversial part of it, because most people are probably going to like this match, but I didn't. Charlotte versus Asuka. It's another Charlotte Flair match. Nia Jax interfered. The only weird thing about this is the referee stopped the match like prematurely, and I guess it's going to be considered a count out or disqualification, but Nia Jax actually never attacked anybody until after the bell was rang. On a pre-recorded episode of Raw, that is very strange to have happen.
Very strange.
But that happened. So
WWE they want to book women, but they never book women proper. Becky Lynch is maybe the only one.
I don't know, because see, like we're gonna get into SmackDown, which is good because this is a good segue actually into SmackDown. Sasha Banks and Bayley won the women's tag team champions against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. I can never remember her name. I don't know why. Just shows the relevance of that character, in my opinion. No, I mean, so they won, which is really weird because they're teasing like a breakup between the two of them. So it's very strange to me that you would put the tag belts on them, and Bayley's still the champion.
Well, I think they're going to try getting, and this is my speculation, they're going to try getting to drop them to the Iconics at some point because they're somewhat rebranding them, supposedly. It's what everyone keeps saying. And you can't have Alexa Bliss as a face when she's probably one of your top heel female superstars. I guess you can call them superstars in the WWE. We call them wrestlers in AEW.
Everywhere else.
Yeah. Everywhere else that's like normal, actually. It's going to be good to see that.
Yeah. I think. And so the only thing that really stuck out to me with SmackDown that was, I guess you could say it's controversial. I just feel it's very uncomfortable is the Jeff Hardy segments that they're doing. Like we're like last week, the week before last, he was arrested for drunk and disorderly. It hits too close to home. And it's like us as wrestling nerds, we know his at home persona, what's going on, and not, just what he does in the ring. Cause this is what we do, and to bring it into the ring is very strange to me that you would want to do that. I mean, obviously Jeff Hardy's okay with it. As a fan, though, just like Simon Miller said on his show, it's very uncomfortable to watch it. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not entertaining. I wish the WWE would just scrap it altogether and just get away from it. They're not going to.
WWE's always good for pushing the envelope like that, though.
Yeah, but there's between pushing the envelope and literally taking this man's real life and just putting it onto a TV screen. And that's what really bothers me is that, like, you know, if it was like a comeback story and, like, you know, he overcame, you know, like Roman Reigns with having leukemia, right? If it's that story, play that story, because that story is gonna make it's a feel good story. You know what I mean? If it's a story where this guy's just on drugs and he's an alcoholic and he's basically ruining his life in real life, don't bring it into what's entertainment for me to watch, because I'm already looking at TMZ or whatever and seeing this guy falling all over the place. You know what I mean? It's just sad. It's sad that his family has to go through it, and it's sad that he has to go through it, and it's even sadder that they then want to capitalize on it and make money off it.
Oh,
That's just my opinion of it. You know, I mean, it's just like with Scott Hall back in WCW during the, you know, NWO days, where, you know, he was going through his addiction and stuff, and then they kind of like used that on the show. It's a very Vince Russo thing to do. And if you know anything about Vince Russo, it's probably something you shouldn't do if he would do it. That's just my opinion, you know. Other than that, Matt Riddle's coming to SmackDown.
I'm excited for it. That might make me watch SmackDown, because he's gonna bring a different element to that show, and he's only been calling out Goldberg for months now.
I honestly hope that him and Brock Lesnar end up having a feud at some point. I think it'd be good.
I'm not going to say it wouldn't be a good idea. I think it'd be great, because you're going to have a cage fighter versus a cage fighter.
Yeah, but it's a cage fighter versus a cage fighter that's not Cain Velasquez, because that match
it's not going to be a huge push
was horrible. Like, I mean, Cain Velasquez, let's face it, like in UFC was incredible. Like, what happened in WWE, I have no idea what was going on there.
It's funny about Cain Velasquez, because whenever he was in Mexico doing some stuff, and he looked like a beast, and then he comes to WWE and they make him look like basically a baboon.
Yeah, it was really weird, because like they build him as like this like destroyer, you know, like he beat Brock Lesnar in UFC, you know, gave him the scar under his eye, like, you know, like all this other stuff. And then like you see them go into the match. Granted, it was in Saudi Arabia, so I don't hold anything accountable that happens in Saudi Arabia. Just don't. But you know, they go into Saudi Arabia, they have this match, and it's like literally the worst match that Lesnar has probably ever had, to be honest. And they try to do an MMA like type match, and it's like, this is just really bad. Exactly. Like you can't fake an MMA match, because MMA matches are not faked. You know what I mean? Like
it's just what WWE does. It's a watered down program.
Yeah, and they would have been better off just to put him in there and just say, hey, listen, like, do what you guys do best. Try not to injure each other as much as possible. You know what I mean? Just go in there and actually have a fight.
But let's talk into something WWE that's not watered down, Matt. Something that, I mean, it's a part of the Wednesday Night War that I'm basically the holder of, in a sense.
Yeah.
But it's NXT. And it wasn't a bad show by any means. It really wasn't. But the issue is you're competing with AEW, who's putting 5-star matches, it seems like, every time, rather than these like 2-star matches. So I'm gonna run through a couple of them real quick. Like we got a double count out finish between it's Mia Yim and Candice LeRae. Double count out because the two gentlemen they are, you know, married to or in involvement with come out to the ring because of the double count out. Then it turns into a mixed tag match. Typical WWE fashion. They're just trying to put two couples together just to try to make something out of it. Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae get the dub. It's a little bit of a sleep. But then you get a match like Tony Nese and Isaiah Swerve Scott. And I don't know if you know too much about Isaiah Swerve Scott, but this guy can go. Like, he's got quick. And I actually, when I first learned about Isaiah Swerve Scott, I actually thought he was a guy I'd been following on Twitter named Chris Bay. And that dude is electric. And he actually, I just discovered recently, he's actually signed with Impact. So good for him. At least he's getting like a bigger spot than some of these like indie shows. Not saying the indie shows are bad, but it's good to see a man get what he deserves because he's a real star.
Yeah, but it's
and
TNA.
I see a lot of that in Isaiah Swerve Scott. I believe he did pin Tony Nese in this match, also with some interference from Jack Gallagher, who's actually in a feud with Tony Nese. Then you got the Undisputed Era versus Oney Lorcan and Undisputed Era versus Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch versus Breezango. So this was a 3-way tag team match. This was pretty interesting because, truthfully, I'm a big fan of Tyler Breeze, not only from the Up, Down, Down channel that they have, and he's part of the Left, Right because he's the Up, Down champion. And he's trying to be like an NWO type guy, the Up, Down, Down channel, which is also hilarious. If you guys get a chance to watch some of that, go check it out. So to see that they got the dub here against a lot of these guys, against two tag teams like Roderick and Strong and Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, who are kind of underrated. They're kind of underrated as a tag team. I guess there was some interference here from Malcolm Bivens. What the hell are they calling these guys? I got to look it up here.
Well, did you know?
No idea. I can't even say her name, but there's some kind of like Indian team, and I guess there was a standoff between Breezango and the tag team champions in NXT, which is Imperium, which is actually a team from the NXT UK, and they came over, and they're pretty interesting to watch. What'd you have to add?
The only thing I was going to say was little known fact. Tyler Breeze and Sean Spears actually own a wrestling school. They run a wrestling school together.
Flatbacks.
A lot of people don't know that, but they do. That's cool because they're actually like really good friends. So
very good friends. Well, they're both Canadian too.
Yeah.
Both Canadian. They both have, or one has a relationship with a WWE wrestler who also helps at the Flatbacks in, I believe it's in Orlando, Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
Well, getting back into actual wrestling that's going on, so we get into a little bit of Sean Spears after this. After I get into talking about NXT, that is. We had an interesting segment. So last week, Robert Stone, a.k.a. Robert E., or Robbie E., for some of those people who follow him in IWC and TNA and stuff, he's been doing some manager work. And he's been building the Robert Stone brand. So he brought along Chelsea Green. And Chelsea Green got so fed up with him last week that she fired him. So she got fired, and he added his girl Aaliyah, who was in a match against Santana Garrett. Aaliyah loses to Santana Garrett, and just all this match really was about was watching the manager on the outside just basically be distraught that his entire empire is falling down and it's only been a month. So it's like whatever to me. It wasn't really even that entertaining. And then this is the one match that I tried to pay attention to. Just put the mic up like whenever it's muted.
Okay.
And oh wow. And then you got Cameron Grimes versus Bronson Reed. This match, boring. It was. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't know anything about Bronson Reed too much. I know about Cameron Grimes a little bit. It's boring, and I didn't really care for the match. Cameron Grimes got the dub. It was cool to see a smaller guy prevail, but nothing too exciting for me to really want to report about. And then you have this was the main event. It was the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. It was a Drake Maverick versus, and I have his name here this time, El Hijo del Fantasma. Try telling me how you're going to fucking remember that. But the guy's a stud. This guy, he's not built like a Cruiserweight. He's built more like a welterweight. The guy can go out there and he can go perform with a heavyweight talent like I'm trying to think of somebody off the top of my head, but like on Andrade Cien Almas. Like I would love to see this guy go against him. Or like a Daniel Bryan be interesting because they're kind of the same height. This dude's a little bit more jacked. This was Drake Maverick's last chance to try to prove to WWE he needed a contract. He put out that real emotional message out on social media that actually, and we'll get into it at the end of this match, played a little bit of a factor. He sadly loses, and the whole time he thinks that's it for WWE. Triple H comes out with the contract, hands it to him. It was a nice little, end of the show. It was a good end of the show. Pull your mic back a little bit. It was a real good end of the show. And for NXT, was it better than AEW? Absolutely not. Nothing can really beat AEW because they care about their fans and they want to put a good wrestling show out there. With NXT, or not NXT, but like WWE just wants to put a show out there just to try to get viewership because their brand is crumbling more and more each day. So we'll segue in from one Wednesday night show from a shitty company to a very good show from probably the best wrestling company. Because I can say that because they classify as wrestling. They don't classify as superstars.
Yeah.
Even though they can't even say wrestling and it's World Wrestling Entertainment, they can't even say wrestler. I don't get it. But it was very good. It was up. It did beat out AEW as far as ratings and everything, which is neat and which is almost expected. But I think it kicked off here with a little bit of tag team action. Some Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc. I'm going to touch on this a little bit. Only because
it was with the young. You mean Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page?
Yeah, what I say?
Yeah, you said the Young Bucks.
Oh, yeah.
You were wishing.
Yeah, Hangman and Kenny Omega. I guess I just looked at something. And I just kind of thought of them. Hangman and Kenny versus Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc. This is a match that was teased last week, and I do like watching Jimmy Havoc. I'm not sold on Kip Sabian yet. Jimmy Havoc, I don't like. See, he's another guy. Like I don't like watching a lot of the Kenny Omega Hangman stuff because I want to see them both be singles competitors doing something great. Like Kenny should be pushing for the heavyweight title. Hangman should be pushing for that TNT title right now to prove himself a little bit more. He's already like he does, and what I mean by that is don't take it like, oh, you're just trashing Hangman. Like, no, I'm not saying that. Hangman's a damn good wrestler that shouldn't be having to fight his way through the tag team division to try to prove himself. If that makes a little more sense.
I agree.
So, and you know Kenny, and I can praise up and down about Kenny Omega and how great he is, but I want to see what he does. I want to see what he does outside. Jimmy Havoc, I like watching him in death matches. And also, he's another competitor I like to see in the TNT hunt. Kip Sabian, and then Kip Sabian, I'm not really sold on.
You need to watch more of his matches.
Who? Kip Sabian?
I've
watched a couple of his matches. It's just there's just something.
Dude,
I don't know if it's his finish or if it's just it might be the manager factor. Just like it just doesn't click with me. Or it might be my love for Penelope Ford.
He needs to ditch her. Hear me out. Hold on. Hear me out. He needs to ditch her and just go full balls to the wall singles. I'm telling you, that kid is going to become a huge, huge star. Especially if they decide to branch out into like British wrestling or they go like overseas and have separate shows or whatever. Like at some point, I'm telling you, that dude, he's going to headline that shit. Because he is fantastic.
This is the issue with him breaking up with Penelope Ford. They're like engaged.
Yeah, no, I know. No, what I mean is like on TV they need to not be together. But you know, whatever. I mean, the Jimmy Havoc. I mean, I don't know if you're all right with it, but if you want to actually like break down these matches and kind of like talk about them, because like with WWE there really isn't enough of that.
Really good in
okay.
Unless like the matches that I feel has made a difference on the card. That one to me didn't make a very much difference on the card. I love Jimmy Havoc. Then you got Brian Cage beating up a jobber just so Taz can just try to put out the "we're dropping bodies" promo at the end. John Moxley's sitting there on commentary, listening to everything going on. I can't wait to see those two go. You got anything to say about that? I think I thought you said you were looking like you were itching to say something. I'm not going to touch on it too.
No, the Brian Cage thing, man. You know what? I love the fact that Moxley explained the reason why he was laughing. Like whenever Taz was doing the promo or whatever, and Taz is like, yeah, you're smiling now, whatever, and he's like, no, you don't understand. Like I'm laughing because this guy is a fucking animal and he's gonna beat my ass, and this is exactly what I've been looking for. Because I'm a fighter. I'm not just a wrestler. I'm a fighter. Like I want to be in a physical confrontation, and like that's what the beauty part of AEW is that like you can have wrestling matches that are absolutely fantastic, like I don't know what you want to call it, like psychological wrestling matches, right? Like they know the ring signs. Like any Cody Rhodes match is going to be good because he knows the science that it takes to run a match.
Well, take a second. Remember, I'm talking about Cody Rhodes later, so don't go too in depth.
Yeah. No, I'm not. No, I'm just saying. I just used him as an example, or like Omega, even. Like he understands the science behind like a match from start to finish. You know what I mean? And like seeing like Moxley, like, and not that he doesn't know the science behind it, he does, but seeing like a guy like Moxley and like this Brian Cage dude, like I will tell you this, I've seen Brian Cage and the hell's the dude's name from TNA? He's like the only one that I usually ever remember his name. He does the whole thumbs up, thumbs down thing. Sami Callihan. Okay. So seeing him and Sami Callihan in a street fight, basically, like dude can go, and he's like death match type matches. But dude, Mox is going to take him to a whole new level.
It's going to be different. But I'll tell you someone who's going to a different level. Chris Jericho, always on another level.
Oh my God.
Going against Colt Cabana. This match, I don't think I've seen it. I think I was paying more attention to a match on NXT during this time. I think I was watching the Cameron Grimes Bronson Reed match. I wish I would have lost out because you can't really miss out on El Champion. Chris Jericho beats Colt Cabana. The most interesting about this match was basically the post match where, and I think Matt referenced it before I fucked up the podcast. That Brody Lee came into the backstage while Colt Cabana was doing his interview. Basically told him, "Hey, it's not how you lose; it's how you get back from losing." And he basically gives him a hand, telling him to come over to join the Dark Order. Then they have that one dude in the creepy videos come hand him a bottle of water. He just takes a sip out of the water. He's like, maybe that's what I want to do. But those guys
just kind of scratches.
Those guys are a little creepy. Those guys are just a little creepy.
Hey.
And he drank the water, so when you drink the water as a fan, you kind of pick that out. You're like, "Ooh, this is actually kind of interesting." So this is you're going to build a storyline where Colt Cabana joins the Dark Order. It's going to be a storyline where the Dark Order feuds with Colt Cabana.
See, I hope that it's the latter of the two. Mm-hmm. I hope that Colt joins because I don't think there's really a place. And this is going to sound bad, but because he's such an experienced wrestler, but I don't think there's a place on the card for him right now. But by joining the Dark Order and kind of going into the fold with Brody Lee and having a character change this early, because he hasn't been really with AEW for that long. Not really. I mean, where he's wrestling.
Yeah, so to have a character I would hate for him to change his persona because his persona is it gravitates.
Well, it's him. Yeah, it's him. But I mean, even if he keeps that charisma, but he becomes a heel, dude, imagine him with that charisma as a heel, dude. It's like Christian all over again. You know what I mean? Like dude, Captain Charisma, man. Dude had charisma.
Also, I do want to point out at the end of that Colt Cabana Chris Jericho match, Orange Cassidy did come out after Chris Jericho was going off his tirade about Mike Tyson. And here comes Orange Cassidy, and we're going to see where that leads to with the best friends feuding with possibly the Inner Circle while they try to organize this whole thing with Tyson.
It's going to be a fight between Jericho and Orange Cassidy. I'm not really that excited for it because, I mean, I am kind of excited for it.
You're not disrespecting Orange Cassidy on this podcast.
No. I'm not going to disrespect him. I actually really like him.
Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho is going to be gold.
It's going to be entertaining because Jericho's going to play off of his gimmick.
He's going to play it, so he's going to play it better than anybody has. He's going to put Orange Cassidy. He's going to literally push him to the fucking moon. They're going to have no other choice but to give him a title at some point.
I don't know, man. Orange Cassidy versus Joey Janela was pretty epic.
So I want to talk about somebody who also is probably in the hunt for a recent title picture. Big Swole. Though she loses this match against Nyla Rose, who really is the number one contender, I feel like that was the wrong move, but it's only because I can't get behind Nyla Rose whatsoever. I know that she's a beast. She's a big girl, and she's the heavyweight in the division. But she's, to me, watching her wrestle, and I touched on this before, I think she's just unsafe. Watching her do some of her stuff, it makes me worry. It's just man, this girl's just throwing these girls around like a rag doll. And it's not like even Nia Jax, when she does it, at least she shows some care. Well, like it's just like Nyla Rose is literally looks like they're just throwing him around like a rag doll. And the match was kind of a snooze fest. Big Swole had some good offense that was pretty good. Nyla Rose just whenever she took over and won the match, I was just so bored at that point. I really want to touch on this match just for the ending. So Big Swole was outside doing commentary, and all of a sudden Britt Baker comes out of nowhere just bitching in the background. Big Swole's then she runs her fucking cart into the barricade. Big Swole's like, this bitch is getting what is this out? This bitch is getting crazy. And then she go ahead and grabs a chair from under the chair, under the ring. She goes, talk shit, get hit, bitch. And she starts running at her with this. Britt Baker takes off. And then, you're not supposed to hear it, but apparently MJF and Wardlow are chirping on the right. And she just turns over and she goes, shut the fuck up, you get some too. And I was like, you know what, Big Swole, you are now my favorite female wrestler in AEW, and I want nothing but the best for you.
I can agree with that.
She'll be elite. And we touched on this again earlier. She's also married to Cedric Alexander, which is pretty cool.
She needs to bring him over, man.
She needs to bring him over.
And
then that goes into the FTR interview, which was really neat. They're talking about, all the tag teams they want to wrestle. They don't label the Young Bucks. It's going to probably lead to a long-time feud down the road. But to get their wheels kicking and turning, they basically get interviewed. They're in the interview. They get interrupted by Butcher and the Blade. The only thing that bothers me about this whole FTR versus Butcher and the Blade coming this Wednesday is the fact that you're basically bringing this tag team that's actually pretty fun to watch. They have a really neat finishing move, but I got to watch them basically job out to FTR, which, isn't the wrong move, but you could have gave them like a Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. They could have fed them some squashers and been all right, but now you're going to squash two big men where you're in a land where there's not a lot of big men. That's the problem. That really truthfully is the problem. Like AEW is not real well known for these big giant guys, and then you're going to have them squash out to guys who are smaller than them. Really, FTR is not that big, not really. Compared to
they're like known, but as far as like size, no. But no.
No. I'm talking about like size wise, they're not that big. But you have these two big behemoths, and the Butcher and the Blade. You're gonna have them job out to these smaller guys, and then they're gonna have to try to make a comeback to get.
Well, I'm gonna stop you right there because the Blade's not the biggest guy. Like Blade,
that's true.
He might be like 6 foot, and FTR is not. They may be like 5'10", 5'11", but how many times in pro wrestling have you seen size doesn't matter?
It doesn't.
There's only one person size matters to, and that person is right now trying to figure out where they fucked up with the XFL. I'll tell you somebody who hasn't fucked up. He's carrying the gold. He had a great match. Cody Rhodes versus Jungle Boy, main event of the evening.
Yeah, that was good.
This is such a great match. Like I actually was earlier when we took a little pause because I'm gonna stress this again. We fucked up this podcast earlier and are redoing it. So I took a little more time and I watched this Cody Rhodes and Jungle Boy match back. My word. Some of the spots they did, and I'll reference the ending right now because it's so hard to summarize this 10, 15-minute match in just a few minutes. But there was carnage. There was people thrown through tables twice. There was blood. Cody Rhodes was bleeding. Jungle Boy looked like a fucking animal. Like, he looked like a Jungle Boy. Like, his name says it. Like, I'm glad they don't call him Jungle Boy Jack Perry. I'm glad they keep it on the announce table. I'm glad they keep it on the announce table. They don't keep it all in the ring. They don't keep it out. I'm sure if he brings up interviews, like backstage interviews, I'm sure he's probably just going to neglect it because, truthfully, he's a man who doesn't even talk in interviews, except for rarely.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's good to see him get a nice little rub from Cody. Cody is victorious, but my God, that he had to fight through tooth and nail to get that win. Do you have anything to say about the Cody Rhodes Jungle Boy match?
That was my favorite match.
It
was good. Yeah, it was very good. realistically, any Cody match should be the match of the night. I mean, that's just like, I mean, it's just how it is. You know what I mean? Like, but Jungle Boy, like Jason had said it like on the podcast you guys did, like he needs to break away from Jurassic Express. I love Luchasaurus, dude. Like don't think I'm talking shit. I'm not talking shit in any way. But
you're saying Marco Stunt's the problem.
No, Marco Stunt's not the problem. That dude, honestly, if they had a division that was meant for smaller, like, I mean, they do kind of, but if they did like a cruiserweight division, like Marco Stunt would probably be holding the title right now. Realistically, that dude will take an ass whooping, man. Like I have all the respect in the world for Marco Stunt, like, you know, Mr. Fun Size, Snack Size, whatever you want to call him. Like, you know, dude, he's entertaining as hell to watch, even if he's just getting beat up. You know what I mean? Like, but like, I think that Jungle Boy needs to break away slowly from Jurassic Express. I don't think he needs to leave them. I just think he needs to do kind of like what Adam Page, like Hangman's doing right now, where he just he'll go and do his matches, but then he's just going to break away and he's just going to do his own like thing or whatever. I mean, hopefully like that goes into more of a singles career, which is what I'm hoping happens with him. But I think the Jungle Boy is probably one of he should be, and he's kind of booked that way as like probably one of the biggest up and comers that's going to happen, like out of like he's going to end up doing some big things eventually. It's not right at the moment. I mean, there's nobody better than MJF at this point, though. Just putting that out there.
So you guys want to talk about big things, right? What do you think of this haircut?
Looks good.
This is big things, right?
Looks good.
I'll tell you somebody who's doing big things. My man Vince down at Enzo's Barbershop in Houston, PA. If you need a good cut and you're looking to maybe not spend Boko bucks for a haircut, $18 gets you a fresh cut down at Enzo's Barbershop. It is, let me give you the location. It's at 221 West Pike Street. It's right across Jimmy's E's. Go get yourself a hoagie while you wait to get your haircut. Go in the cut app, schedule one for today. Tell him Greg sent you. He'll really appreciate that. There's my little advertise read. That's the first one. When I got my haircut today, I told him I was giving him a free ad read.
Nice.
So I gotta deliver. I can't tell my barber. Also tip the guy too for $18. Tip the fucking guy heavy. I gave him $40 a day. I was like, I don't even care. I was like, you were out of business for what, a month? I missed you guys. I'm like, take that $40. Go get yourself something nice. Although it's not like a whole bunch of money, but it's good for you. It doesn't even make any money. And so that's it for my plug. And so we'll get into Matt made a challenge the other week because again the last episode he wanted to talk most overrated and underrated
the most underutilized wrestler in AEW and WWE, all of WWE, Raw, SmackDown, NXT.
So since it was your challenge, I'm going to answer first. And I took some time to do it. And it kind of doesn't make sense now just because of the match that I just talked about not too long ago. Jungle Boy is probably one of the most underutilized people in AEW right now. He's getting a little bit he's getting a little bit more in the spotlight now. But as far as like wins and losses are concerned, Matt, he's really because he's in singles competition he's won more than he's lost. In tag team competition, I think they're about even. So I would like to see him a little bit more. And in WWE, I'm going with my favorite wrestler in WWE, Finn Balor. Finn Balor has been misused, misread his entire time since he won the title at Survivor Series, being the first ever Universal Champion, got hurt, and then never had a chance to really go back at that belt. Then they sent him down to NXT, and now what's he doing?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
That's one guy that if he came to AEW, waves.
But see, I'm not.
The whole world would probably tilt.
I'm not a Balor fan, dude. Like I never had been from the beginning. I was never like. I just don't see it. Like I mean, I love the what is it? I don't know what it,
Monster.
the monster, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, like I love that. Like the gimmick was like cool or whatever. But
Demon.
like I just don't see it. And like I've watched his like New Japan stuff where he was
That's
like
my
Prince
favorite.
Devitt and you know, like with the Bullet Club.
That's what
That
I
was
want.
the best work he ever did,
It
realistically.
was, and that's what I
And
want.
I-
That's what I want
and-
AEW. Real bad.
Yeah, yeah. So you gave your 2. I'm gonna go ahead and give my 2. I want to say AEW, and it's hard. It's hard to pick one in AEW because
It's
they
very
really
hard.
do use their guys pretty well.
I'll
But
give you an honorable mention if you want to just maybe piggyback
Yeah, go
off
ahead.
mine. Joey Janela.
that's exactly who I was gonna say. That's exactly who I was gonna
Mhm.
say.
I love me some
Dude,
Joey
the
Janela.
bad boy, man. The bad boy. Like, I watched that man dive off a building into a truck full of glass tubes.
Mhm.
Okay? He can go if he wants to go. And, like, and it's – I feel like AEW a year ago, whenever they came out with AEW, like, you know, that was officially, like, this is what we're going to do. It was, like, for these wrestlers, it was like the promised land. You know what I mean? Like not to quote like an old movie, but like if you ever watched Land Before Time, where they're like looking for the, you know, like for
Dinosaur
the
movie.
you know, where they're looking for like the Starleaf Forest or whatever. Dude, that's exactly what AEW was, and I feel like to the vast majority of the guys, that's what it is. But for like some of these other guys, like we talked about Kip Sabian, we talked about, you know, like you talk about Jimmy Havoc, like you talk about like Joey Janela. These guys thought this was going to be like the place, you know, but they're really not used other than like Jimmy Havoc does a lot of squash matches where like, okay, yeah, like he pulls out like, you know, a weapon or something and does whatever. Joey Janela, he tends to get beat most of the time. You know, Kip Sabian, he's another one where you don't even get behind him because he's been beat so many times. You know, but it really realistically, though, all 3 of those guys, like Jimmy Havoc and CZW for those death matches, fantastic, dude. Like, like does some crazy shit, and you know, I mean, like I just feel like that's kind of where Joey Janela is, and like I feel like Joey Janela is not going to be in AEW for that long.
I think you're full of shit.
I don't think.
Mhm. I think he is. I think he's in it for the long run because he's not just helping out as talent; he's also helping backstage as well.
Yeah, but like you got to get to a point though where if you're a wrestler, like especially at his age, like he's in his prime right now.
Well, even in
And like
AEW,
you're not getting anywhere.
AEW, they have the freedom to go and do whatever they want anyway. So it's not
That's
like
that's
he's just going to be. It's not like he's even exclusive just to AEW. Like, he can go do anything he wants. That's the neat thing about being in AEW.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel bad for the guy because like I feel like he deserves a lot more than what he's given at this point.
Well, who's your
And-
WWE guy? Because I think we touched enough on Joey Janela. We all know he's going to be he's a great wrestler. He's one of my favorites to watch in AEW. Also, he was the host of the Joey Palooza that I was a part of when I went to the All Out after party, which is fucking fantastic.
Nice.
Though I lost my poster, so Joey, if you're watching this, I need another poster from that event, bro.
Mine is going to be actually. I was going to say Apollo Crews, but now he's U.S. champion, so I can't say that. I'm going to say probably Cedric Alexander.
Mm.
Realistically, that dude, he is an incredible talent, and to be utilized the way that he has been is just, to me, it's appalling. To be honest with you, it really, truthfully
Probably
is.
one of my favorite finishing moves in WWE right now. He has.
I mean, I don't even look at finishers anymore, just because, like,
Well, WWE doesn't either.
well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, like you know, but I mean, and like, there's talents that like you look at in WWE that you're like, God, if he was anywhere else, or if she was anywhere else, they would do insane things. I mean, look at Moxley. Moxley as, you know, fucking, I don't even remember what the hell he was called in WWE. Dean Ambrose, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody in WWE thought Dean Ambrose was going to be a champion, was going to be the world champion and hold it for longer than a couple of weeks and be a transitional champion. That's literally what they were going to have him do probably the rest of his career. But like, and then in AEW, you know, he's Jon Moxley. He's this badass, like, you know, dude who had a legacy in CZW. Like, I know I keep referencing CZW, but like I really, really like a lot of the work a lot of those guys did in there.
I'd like you also reference someone from CZW who recently passed away as well when you have a second.
Yeah, talking about Moxley, this is probably a good time to do it because
it's a good way to kind of segue in. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, Danny Havoc. I'm not real familiar with his work, to be honest with you. Like, I've seen some CZW matches. I do know that he created one of the first shirts for Jon Moxley for AEW, where the one with the grenade. I don't currently have one because I just don't have one. But
life's hard, people. We can't afford merchandise all the time.
That's right. He, but I mean, he helped create that logo, which is really cool. I feel really bad for Moxley and for anybody who's friends with Danny Havoc, who apparently they lost a really good guy because Moxley posted probably, I want to say, like 3 or 4 posts on Twitter about the loss of his friend. So I mean, it's just a sad situation. And then on top of that, everything else that's going on in the world right now with the quarantine, pandemic, plus the the protesting and everything that's going on. So
I was just thinking about this. Let's have a minute of silence for George Floyd, for Danny Havoc, for all those people. I think that'd be good. So let's do that.
Yeah.
That was a good minute. I feel like that was nice. That was a good time.
Yeah.
While we're actually on the subject about, because we're worried about in the closing segments of our show, is there anything you'd like to say about the protests and the whole thing about that? Anything you want to share? I talked a little bit about it on the last show.
Yeah. The way I look at it is that it's an absolute shame, and it disgusts me to live in a country where in 2020 you have to worry about walking down the street and the color of your skin. I think that's ridiculous. I think your sexual orientation, your skin color, your belief system in whatever it is, religious-wise, whatever, you should have the right and the privilege in the United States to believe whatever you want, feel the way you want, love who you want, whatever the situation is. I just feel that it's appalling to me that the people who are here to serve and protect you, and I'm not talking about all of them, obviously, but, are the ones who are not serving and protecting you. They're hurting, our people. So I would gladly stand with anybody who, represents Black Lives Matter or LGBTQ or anything that deals with, basic human rights. You know what I mean? But the rioters, I wish would stop. That is not helping anything. That does, you burning a cop car, doing something to somebody, damaging property, that doesn't help anything.
And I've discussed this on Facebook, but I just think it's kind of wild that while black people have the right to protest, it's white people who are out there causing these riots for these black people to kind of lash out. And I think that's just ignorant on our behalf. I like I said, I said enough about it on our Thursday show, our Friday show, actually. I'm sorry. I filmed it on Thursday, released it on Friday. But like my best friends are black. They're in a video that is actually right now currently uploaded, and it's going to be available to watch probably right after this episode. And I stand with Black Lives Matter. I think the entire channel stands for Black Lives Matter. We gave the moment of silence for George Floyd. I've watched our local area. They actually had a friendly protest today, and they actually sat for 8 minutes and 40 seconds. And as I'm watching this, I didn't watch it live. I watched it afterwards. But after watching it and seeing that everybody's sitting down for 8 minutes and 46 seconds or what it was, that the cop was on the back of George Floyd's neck, like even just thinking about it, like it actually gives me chills.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's like I said, I just find it very, very appalling that we live in a country that is supposed to be the greatest country in the world, but yet you have to worry about getting pulled over and getting shot. You know what I mean? Because of your skin color. I don't even want to get into the president and all that because like nobody's gonna like my viewpoints.
No, I just want to let everybody know we do stand with Black Lives Matter. We believe that, we don't see one color, we see one person.
Everything's black and white.
Everybody bleeds red, and we all and if you're from Pittsburgh, you bleed black and yellow. So
damn
and so I'm trying to think of a good challenge. I like to do you're a video game guy. Let's do favorite wrestling video game.
Oh.
Do you think you can do that one? Or you want me to figure something?
I can't, and I'll tell you the reason why, because I don't play any wrestling video games.
Oh, that makes it a little more harder.
Yeah. If it was Mortal Kombat, I could tell you.
favorite wrestling city. That's not
wrestling
Pittsburgh.
City?
Favorite wrestling city. Yeah, that's a good one. That's not Pittsburgh. It can't be Pittsburgh.
No, but see, that's
no, it's a good one because I already have mine picked out.
I think I know what mine is too.
Make sure you guys like, follow, and subscribe to the video. We're going to be releasing this they're going to be out every Sunday. Once we finish this up, I'm going to have it edited out and be ready to go. Matt, where can people find you on that social media, my friend?
You can find me on Twitter at Matt. Just look up Matthew Mounts at Matthew Mounts, whatever. And then I'm not gonna give out Facebook because I feel like that's like all my family's there. You know what I mean? Like it's just a thing.
That's how I feel about my Facebook. That's why I don't give it out.
And I'm not on Instagram or anything. So I mean, if I might have one, but I don't use it.
But it's probably not him. If it is, it's probably
it's me. It's me. It's me. I'm just old. I don't use it.
You're gonna get them. You're gonna get them fake Matthew Mounts accounts sent to everybody right now who watches these.
You can. Videos. You can snap me if you want. That's fine. Because I like Snapchat.
If you guys want to find me on social media, I talk about it all the time. I am at Ghost Named Greg on Twitch.tv. I am Twitch.tv/The Ghost Named Greg. Make sure you guys check out the channel. I actually been fucking up lately. I haven't uploaded or streamed in probably all week, but I've been focused on trying to get my YouTube out. We took a whole week off, and I'm actually kind of really mad at myself because I should have been more on top of it. So that's why I've been cranking out videos all week. But that's pretty much it for today. Make sure you guys like, follow, and subscribe. Comment down below. Let us know what your favorite wrestling city is. Also, let us know what you guys think about our list. We did two lists for you, or one list for you, and then underrated on AEW and WWE. So I'm curious to see what everyone else has to say. Matt, always a good pleasure. This was a good show. This is a
man.
Show. And I can't wait to see what's next. So you guys keep it locked. We'll catch you on the flip side.